Saturday Social, brought to you by EA Sports FC with PlayStation 5.
Well, the whiteboard is out. Man United Liverpool fan.
Yeah.
What's the plan?
Yeah, very, very simple. We've kind of mixed up our usual combined 11 today. We're going to be doing one from the Premier League era.
Love it.
So a combined Man United and Liverpool 11 from the Premier League era. Well, we couldn't do it this season, could we? Because it would have been 11 Liverpool players. It would have been 11 Liverpool players. So we've mixed it up. Some big names in here.
Yeah.
Some big omissions, potentially.
Yeah, as always, usual rules apply. Reveal the name, and then Joe and I will decide based on the best argument brought forward. So in goal, who do you have as the greatest Man United-Liverpool combined keeper in Premier League history?
I'll let you go first for this one.
Yeah, I've gone with potentially the greatest goalkeeper in Premier League history, period. Peter Schmeichel. I think he's someone who was such a massive force in the Premier League, kind of brought in a new style of goalkeeper in terms of just making yourself absolutely massive. And when you look at the guy, I'm sure, who Lawrence has gone for, he is almost in that style of goalkeeper, of just physically imposing goalkeepers who just make it scary for opposition attackers to even attack you. And you look at the number of Premier League titles that he had, the influence that he had, and honestly, not that long of a time at United, but it was short but sweet with United. So for me, I think the influence he had in those early years of Sir Alex Ferguson.
Still won 11 major trophies with Man United, didn't he? So huge volume.
A lot of big trophies with Manchester United. I think you're right. He probably is one of the greatest Premier League goalkeepers of all time. Second to this guy.
You think Alisson's the greatest Premier League keeper of all
really?
time?
I think statistically you can prove it in terms of XG faced, in terms of expected XG, all these kind of things. Alisson massively outperforms these things. And Liverpool have got Alisson, and obviously Kelleher now, but predominantly Alisson to thank for a lot of the Cups, trophies, all the things that they've won. Because, frankly, he is a huge part of the style that they play. Jurgen Klopp needed someone like this. We couldn't have done it with another goalkeeper. And I think, arguably, down the years, Manchester United have had a lot of great goalkeepers. This guy defines that position out at Liverpool.
To give you that,
to
give you that stat, by the way, because Lawrence is right, 21.5 XG prevented in Premier League career. Now, that's the best record of any Premier League goalkeeper since Alisson's Premier League debut, just to put that into perspective.
Can I give a quick counter? I'll give a counter argument. When you talk about doing it with him or doing it without him, I think the biggest compliment to Peter Schmeichel is how difficult Sir Alex Ferguson found it replacing him. I mean, you had the likes of Taibbi, you had the likes of Tim Howard, you had the likes of Roy Carroll. Only until he found an aging Edwin van der Sar in around, 2006, 2005, was he able to replace what a massive, not even just player, but character this guy was to the dressing room.
And all I'd say is, and I just urge a little caution on your guys' part when judging this, is a lot of the people we're putting up for Manchester United here have ended their career. They've actually had that time to do that.
The longevity.
The longevity in there. I mean, if we're discussing him versus him and he's only halfway through his career, imagine what it's going to be like.
What do you think he'll be like post-Klopp? You think he'll still be able to maintain the level and be at that?
Yeah, because I think there's a high-quality goalkeeper in there.
Yeah.
I think a huge amount of credit, I want to say, goes to the coaching staff at Liverpool. I think they've made him into the goalkeeper that he is, but they saw that potential in the first place. I think any other team in all of Europe, actually, would take Alisson over any other goalkeeper. 5
major trophies at Liverpool. We've bigged Alisson up a lot. Got to give it context, though. Schmeichel, 11 major trophies with Man United, including 5 Premier League titles in 7 seasons, 112 clean sheets. Do we edge Schmeichel?
Can I just say one thing? Can I just say one thing about that?
Go on.
There are still 2 asterisks in terms of Premier League titles there. That we may see concluded at some point. And on top of that, you also see the difference in defensive style. This is with a massively high line at Liverpool, and that was a much deeper defence there. This guy enables.
Do you not think Schmeichel could have done it in a Klopp team?
I think
that high line?
I'm not saying that I don't think he could have done it, but I'm saying he's doing it. And the fact that we have a theory that he could have done it, the fact that he is doing it, and he's playing with probably the highest line in the Premier League outside of maybe Man City or another dominant side, is just testament to the fact that he can also play football.
Oh, it's Schmeichel.
2 quality keepers. I think Schmeichel just edges
I think you guys have made a massive mistake.
Let's move on. Let's know what you think.
Big mistake.
It's a good one. That's a good
Let us know what you think online.
Yeah, let us know what you think.
Let's go to the right back. Now, I think we maybe have a slight confusion with the magnets here.
I don't know if we actually have.
Have we made an error on the magnet front?
I don't know if you've made an error. Do you want to turn? Should we turn around at the same time?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3.
Gary Neville's your guy.
So the Liverpool fan's going with Gary Neville, the Man United player, and the Man United fan is going with the Liverpool player.
Yeah, I am.
Fine. OK, I like that.
Should I give my argument first, or you want to go first?
Is it a mistake, firstly, your magnet?
I do think it's a mistake, but so I gave an initial list, and Gary Neville was on that initial list. Again, down to longevity. And obviously he's on Sky Sports, and you can see him probably this weekend, right? But I think when it comes to Neville, he's serially disrespected.
Yeah, I totally agree.
He had such longevity at Manchester United. I think the only argument, the reason I would put Trent on it would be the technical ability, the other things that he does have. And you can make an argument that in terms of the player that he is, Trent merits it. I still think that what Gary Neville achieved, the fact he was club captain, which obviously we think Trent could be at Liverpool, but the fact he was club captain, the fact that he had that massive era, that he defined that era.
16 major trophies, 400 Premier League appearances.
I think by the time that Trent finishes his career, there'll be an equivalency, but I think it's disrespectful to probably, at this point, one of the greatest.
Do you know what? I sometimes think Gary puts himself down too much.
Yeah,
I watch him on the show, I think, come on, Gary, you are unbelievable.
I mean, Gary Neville, I completely agree with you. I think it's down to his own humble personality that sometimes he does downplay himself. I wouldn't really have a qualm about this, but I just think this guy right here has revolutionized the position as a right back, especially in the Premier League. But I think you just look in general at the greatest right backs of all time. No one has been as creative an attacking force from right back. He is the creative force of one of the best teams in the world from right back. I just think the numbers are unparalleled at such a young age as well, too. And
assists.
The assists,
58
the goals.
assists he's got.
To be fair, though,
Which is incredible.
underrated assister.
No doubt,
massively underrated assister, and played behind some of the greatest right wings of all time.
100%.
Had that
He's
iconic
Arsenal
relationship.
But we're talking about a guy
Worth pointing out the role of the right back then was very different to a role of a right back now expected to go forward and everything.
Was
But we're
also
talking
very good
about-
in adverts, so you know.
Okay.
But we're talking about possibly the greatest passer in the Premier League. Like, this is the level that we're talking about with Trent Alexander-Arnold. So I can never disrespect Gary Neville. What he's done in that team, staying in it as long as he did as well, too, cannot be underestimated. But I just think this is a special, transcendent player in my opinion.
Can I shock you?
Go
I'm
on.
willing to concede. You're right.
Okay.
No, you're totally right.
Okay.
I'm willing to concede that one.
I think
concede.
Trent's fair enough, because otherwise, if we just do retired players, we're going to be here with just the Man United 11.
Yeah.
aren't
I mean,
we?
this is a problem, to be
Steven
honest.
Gerrard.
Second most assists by a defender in Premier League history, behind Andy Robertson. Right, next up, centre-backs. Let's go for your
Who you going for
pairings.
first?
I see who you got.
We go
Yeah.
look at
We
your
can go
pairings, see if
together.
there's any
One of the
agreement
greats.
here.
Yeah.
We all agree on that
Both
one.
gone Rio Ferdinand.
I mean, Rio he's the he's the Premier League defining centre-back for me.
Best centre-back in Premier League history for you?
Yes. I'm
Okay.
equal with one other guy.
Okay.
He's up there for me. Definitely up there.
And who else have you gone with?
Well, I've gone with Virgil van Dijk.
The pair together?
Yeah.
Dude, we were so similar on that then. I mean,
Okay.
these two are the two that define the Premier League eras. The modern era and Rio Ferdinand back then. I think both of them could have swapped and they'd have had similar careers. I think it's just the fact that they possess such great technical ability, such great reading of the game. Both of them were absolute giants for their teams.
Who was the better? Who is the better centre back?
I'm going to ask the same.
Go on then,
Yeah,
I have to go with my guy, man. Rio is my guy, so I'll go with Rio Ferdinand.
this guy.
Yeah.
This guy, again, plays in a super high line, has been super adaptable. I think Rio possesses a lot. I would love to have seen Rio in this era, if that makes sense. But the fact he's playing in this era means that...
One thing I will say about Rio, though, is that we often hear a lot of times people who believe the older generation of centre-backs would struggle in today's high line. I don't think he would struggle to adapt to today's game because of his ball-playing ability, his graceful... I think he would be one of the few centre-backs that in today's game excels.
Rio sort of set the mould, didn't he, as well? For that? He was one of the first centre-backs that was a ball-playing centre-back that you could imagine playing, which now you see there's so many ball-playing centre-backs. But I feel like he was like a trailblazer in that sense.
100%.
In a similar way with Virgil van Dijk. Like, you see defenders now doing Virgil van Dijk moves, the way they cut the ball out of the air. You see Jarell Quansah, all these...
I agree. Where they sit off the... There was an incident the other week with Quansah, wasn't there? Basically mirroring exactly a Virgil van Dijk movement, wasn't there?
Stick him on them.
Any other shouts that were close? A Yapstam, maybe?
Yapstam's definitely up there, but just
Manjevic?
didn't do it for long enough. For me, Vidic was the B-side to what Ferdinand was, and I think you can't make an argument for Vidic over Virgil van Dijk.
OK.
Yeah, happy with that?
Yeah, no.
Left back.
Left back.
Left back.
I think this is
you go for that?
disagreement. I went for Patrice Evra.
Who do you want to hear from first?
I think let's go to you, Lars.
So I originally also put Patrice Evra in the list, but we agreed on so many things that I thought, OK, let's mix this up a little bit.
That's my argument done.
Win.
Yeah. The thing with Evra is, again, I think it was a slightly different system back then, so playing as left-back was a little bit different to the way that Andy Robertson plays. If you compare their attacking numbers, Andy Robertson completely eclipses Patrice Evra.
Yeah.
But if you compare defensive numbers, then they are... I'd say broadly you could compare the two. I just think Patrice Evra defined that era. Every left-back looks at Andy Robertson and goes, what does Andy Robertson do in this era? Every young centre-back that every young left-back that you've spoken
Not
to...
having it, yes.
I've literally seen interviews on Sky Sports done by you guys where they say,
I can't remember.
where you say, who do you watch? And they go, I watch tape of Andy Robertson to define what I do at left back.
Okay. Thank you for watching our interviews, by the way, firstly.
Why are you not
Smithy, you know I love it.
You don't agree?
Robertson is a brilliant left back. I would say
you.
top 3 in Premier League history. But the difference between Trent and Robertson for me, where I call Trent a transcendent footballer, I think Robertson, in my opinion, is a bit more a byproduct of the club system. Like, I think that the manner in which the fullbacks go blazing forward and putting in crosses, I just think this guy has a bit more guile and a bit more creativity to him, where Robertson is really get it down to the end line and just blast it into the box. And I do think that in terms of who's an actual better footballer and who has more to their game, I do think it was Patrice Evra. And I think as well, too, the leadership that he displayed, he ended up being the captain because Vidic and Rio were out so many times. He was really captaining the sides at their peak. So I would go for Patrice Evra.
Tough, this one, because Robert, I think he's almost like, I know you say he's a product of the system, but I think he is almost like a pace setter within that Klopp side. The amount of times I've seen the press like triggered by Robertson from left back.
Silent leader as well.
Yeah.
And I think if he was English, we'd only have one choice for left back for this Euros.
Well, there's not too much competition, let's be real.
Oh, I mean, that's your own club that's got the other person in
Plays
competition.
5 games a season, man.
Yeah. So do most of the left backs.
What do we think? Andy Robertson or Patrice
I'm probably a
Evra?
bit too biased on this one.
Do we let the fact that we've given yourself one, Loz, and you actually did originally pick Patrice Evra in your original list?
I think that's an interesting shout. I'd be willing to trade and put Alisson in goal if we put
But you
Patrice
did
Evra
say
at
in your
left back.
original
You
list
did.
you had
You
Patrice
actually
Evra.
tripped yourself up.
So you tripped yourself up with that. This is based on your list.
So, because I'm being so nice to other people.
Exactly.
Okay, I
Go
understand.
for it.
Yeah, you're right.
By the way, shout out to
kindness.
Dennis Irwin. Didn't even mention Dennis Irwin. I think more trophies than both of them. Like long stay in that Man United era for
Yeah, I
ages.
think
So definitely worth
felt more
a
like a
shout out.
centre back playing at
Dunno,
left back.
man.
Oh, great at penalties as well.
I'll put it up to youth in my
Played both
Fine.
fullbacks.
Midfield 3. Should we go to midfield 3?
Yeah.
I
This one's
feel
pretty
like
easy.
there's
We're going to agree from here on out. Am I wrong?
I think these
you're
3 should be. I think these 3 in midfield at least should be set in stone.
Wow. Do you want to go first then?
With my 3, or
Yeah.
I've gone with Steven Gerrard, Roy Keane, and Paul Scholes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I think
I've also
nailed on.
the same.
Nailed on. Easy tap-ins.
Out of the
guys?
3, Loz, which one was the greatest Premier League player?
In terms of achievements or in terms of actual play?
Play.
That guy.
Stevie G.
Steven Gerrard.
Stevie G is the greatest two-way Premier League midfielder of all time. And I don't think I don't think there's anyone else that comes close. People can make an argument for Kevin De Bruyne attacking-wise being a better player. People can make a better defensive argument for maybe Roy Keane or someone like that. This guy did everything and even played right wing for a whole season for Liverpool because he was so adaptable. This guy defines what it is to be a Premier League player in this era and would be amazing now.
Lyes, who's your number 1?
It's a good show. I mean, I have to go for Paul Scholes, man. I mean, the guy is just... In the Premier League, who defines a Premier League midfielder? I agree, it's Steven Gerrard. But who defines just what it means to be a ball-playing midfielder? Somebody who's capable of controlling games from deep. Someone who's capable of drifting into the number 10 positions and getting goals. Someone who's more of a pure footballer, if you want to call it that. That was Paul Scholes for me. And I think you look at the way that the top managers around the world, the top players from around the world, gloss over this guy. It's not a coincidence.
What a midfield 3, by the way.
Yeah. Can we just shout out a few other midfield options? I suppose because you're playing a 4-3-3, but, you know.
Xabi Alonso?
I was going to say Giggsy, Bex. Like,
Bex was definitely a consideration for me, but it was just when he came up against Gerrard, the amount of seasons that Gerrard played in the league, all these kind of things.
Yeah.
We were asked to make a 4-3-3.
yeah, and we saw Giggs playing.
Yeah, top player. I think Michael Carrick was very underrated for United. And
It was close for me.
Yeah, Carrick did so much for that United team.
I totally agree, underrated
think
player,
these 3
Michael
are
Carrick.
really, really brilliant, man.
Xabi Alonso, by the way, I think Xabi Alonso's overall career, yes.
Yeah,
At
in the
Liverpool
Premier League, not so
specifically,
much,
though,
I
not
agree.
so.
Okay, they've done well with the arguments here.
Yeah.
I like it.
Let's go into the forward line.
I know, yeah.
Again, this front 3 should be clear-cut.
Nah, there's
I
disagreement.
think you've got disagreement here.
Well, then that's wrong.
So should we go with the two that...
Yeah.
The two that
Okay.
nailed on, one from each club? Yeah.
Rooney
two that
and
nailed
Salah.
on?
Yeah, those 2 I have
Those
as well. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's not unreasonable. Rooney, that would be... That as a team is scary.
Yeah, staggeringly good.
Yeah,
that is-
so far.
No, I think, look, Salah is probably the outstanding player in the Premier League at the moment. And I think Rooney, bar Thierry Henry, is in those conversations for greatest Premier League player of all time. I mean, only player, I think, to be in what?
You wouldn't have
200
Salah in those
goals, 100
conversations
assists?
too?
I mean, I think at the rate he's going, he will probably retire in those conversations. I think if you want to look at everything going on, silverware, no matter whether you like it or not, will end up kind of playing a part in those conversations. But I think that's the thing with Rooney. He has everything. He has the silverware. He has the stats. He passes the eye test. He has the longevity. He is everything that the Premier League was at the time.
He also could have done like that or that.
Yeah.
He could
He
could have also played at right
back.
back.
Even at
back
times,
and then Gerrard gets to
played on
play.
even at times he played on the wing. Like,
Yeah.
Two
To accommodate
scousers
other
in the
players.
team, just I love
Yeah,
it.
Rooney's nailed on, isn't he?
Yeah, I
Let's
love
be
it.
honest.
Rooney's nailed on. Salah's nailed on. So
Salah's-
here's the disagreement.
Okay. Where's the
Again,
disagreement?
I'm surprised there's a disagreement.
I'm not.
All right,
Go on.
Well, who have you gone
let's
for?
reveal.
Let's reveal. Sadio Mane and Cristiano Ronaldo. Loz, you first.
Serially disrespected, serially underrated, longevity in the league, played all the way along the front line, right wing, left wing, centre forward, basically a striker, false nine for us at times. I think he's someone that, for some strange reason, because he played on the opposite wing to Salah, people just underrate him. He was a huge part of Jurgen Klopp's system, if not the biggest part of triggering presses, the effort, all those different things. He defined that era and the way that they played. And actually, if you look at the comparison in terms of stats, these two are actually really close to each other. And even in terms of the way that they play, I think Ronaldo, definitely a fantastic player, but this guy's got twice as many passes, twice as many other goal involvements for other players, all these kind of things. There's so many different things that he does out there on the field that I think we think Ronaldo does. But again, if you want to talk about system and the way the system played, this guy defined it.
As a player, Cristiano.
I think, again, though, we said
Loz.
Xabi Alonso because Xabi Alonso went on to have an even better career after that.
He won the
Ronaldo
Ballon
was-
d'Or in the
Hold on,
Prem.
hold on.
Absolutely. This guy would have won the Ballon d'Or, but I think, I'll be honest, I think where he was from had a massive impact on the way that other people in Europe saw him. And, you know, let's be real about this. Some people just don't give a lot of African players in the Premier League their dues, and we need to.
Look, no doubt about it. I completely agree. But Cristiano Ronaldo, I think comparing him to Xabi Alonso in terms of the whole thing of like, oh, did he do his best in the Premier League? No, he was better at Real Madrid.
Thank you.
But this was still a two-time Premier League Player of the Year, back-to-back seasons, before Salah and Haaland stepped into the league, had the greatest single goal-scoring season in Premier League history from the wing, basically had two eras in the Premier League as well, too. One where he was this all-action, flashy winger who could destroy any fullback you can imagine, and transforming himself into the ultimate goal-scoring winger, probably being the prototype for guys like Mane to even exist, right?
What was the other era?
The first one, where he was basically this flashy, all-action winger, basically.
That was short-lived. Okay, I
was
can't
his
take
first-
that as an era, but yeah.
No, like for him, he had two separate careers, if you want to
Sure.
call it that. But I mean, the goals, the excitement, the trophies, the individual awards. One of only two Premier League players ever to win the Ballon d'Or. I think this is a straightforward one.
I think it's Ronaldo.
This is no doubt. Yeah. Brent. I love Sadio Mane,
Well,
but
we do.
Cristiano.
I respect the argument.
So,
I think you've forgotten how good he was in the Prem, man.
People also
First
forget.
stint.
People also forget what this kind of exercise is, and I feel like this exercise is not actually about the final 11, but is actually just about having a discussion of who the great players are, exploring that. And this is why he's just never involved in these conversations. And you know, I'm not saying he's a better player than Cristiano Ronaldo. There's an obvious choice there, but Sadio Mane is. Like, as you said, there's a prototype there. There's a prototype there for other modern wingers.
Yeah.
This guy just doesn't get the respect he deserves, and I don't know why.
His work rate as well, too, is unparalleled.
All of
Well, it's a good shout, but there is confirmation of the combined Man United Liverpool Premier League era.
That one is.
And you both gone Sir Alex.
I've got
as
Sir Alex out on the
gaffer.
left wing.
Yeah, on the left wing.
Right.
Stick with the top. Let us know what you think at home anyway. If there's any disagreement with that, let us know what you think.